Hello and welcome. Um, all right. Hi. Hello.
Hi.
Hello. Welcome. Hi, Tamar, Steven, Asta. Good to see you, Anna. Okay, I make the color review. I think I'm recording. I pushed the button before to don't forget. All right, we just will. I think we're ready to start because it's over 3 minutes already. How are you guys doing?
Good.
Good? Yeah. Good. Well, I'm glad you're all here, that you found time to meet, and we can start our open panel before the screening of the documentary, Unbroken, exposing what does it take to leave an abusive cycle. Yeah, and I also would like to acknowledge Tamar, who joined today. Her story is one of the 88 participants of Exposé. And I'm so thankful that Tamar agreed to join us today. Hi, just wanted
Hi.
to acknowledge you.
Thank you.
Mm,
It's such an honor to be here, really. I love what you're doing, so thank you.
mm. And it's, yeah, well, so my first question, like on this open panel, I wanted to discuss and talk about living an abusive cycle. And today we're going to hear all the reasons what makes us to stay for all cost, which is, we can go really deep here. But I'm just curious, yeah, what comes to you when we talk about the living abusive cycle? How can we help somebody who is in that? How we as a system can help somebody what to do, what not to do when we see somebody struggling, and what can be done. If I make sense, let me know if I'm making sense, because sometimes my English is today I honestly struggle. I have today a really hard day and recently. Yeah.
Perfect.
So, but I'm so happy we're together. We figured it out. Okay. Anna, I can see you raise your hand. And by the way, you can raise your hand. You can, use the hand
Hi,
on.
everyone. I just wanted to say hello and thank you again, Anastasia. You know, when someone's going through it in that time, because their mind is so trapped, it's about at that time they need all the support they can get. And that's what sometimes it's just, and we have to go with where they're at, their flow. Sometimes it's just them knowing that you're there for them and not pushing them to do anything until they're ready. Because if you show them the support is there and there's trust between you and that individual, it's only a matter of time. I've had clients who came to me 5 years before. They wanted to leave, but because their children were still at a very crucial age going through school, and I said to them, I understand it's a difficult time because you're putting your children before yourself, and you're hiding what's going on to you. not to upset your children. And, you know, it was interesting because I said to her, once the kids grow up a bit, but if anything physical happens, I want you to know you can take the kids and come to my house. That offer was there, right? That if it got to the point where she couldn't cope anymore, that she had a place to run to. That was the first thing. And I think when you explain to them, look, sometimes when you want to leave someone and you know that you're in an abusive relationship, but the circumstances are difficult, sometimes it takes what we call an exit strategy, a plan, and it might take 12 months. But when it's done slowly, and the individual then can see the light at the end of the tunnel, they have something to focus on, a goal.
Food.
Sometimes it's not easy to get up and
I'm
leave
on a meeting.
because of the circumstances. So I think, and also what I find is has been really helpful. And by the way, that person is now at that stage 5 years later where they have put in place the exit strategy, and it's happening at the end of this year. So, you know, but she built the strength because I educated her about her self-worth. At the same time, the impact it would have on the children if she stayed in that relationship, because her children were everything. So I had to make her also understand the impact of how the children would be affected if she stayed in a negative way. So that gave her more motivation because that was her soft, sore spot. And she was willing to sacrifice herself for her children. So I had to help her to understand a different perspective. But also, while in that 5 years, I gave her books to read. And that empowered her, because those books, which is now what we have the videos now from Exposé, so that people can see they've got other stories and other people who have gone through worse, and they go, wow, look at where they are today and where they are on the other side. And because when you're stuck in it, you can't see the other side. And people tend to stay in something because it's better the devil you know than the devil you don't. The fear of not knowing what's on the other side. But I think the most important thing is to educate them about their self-worth, to show them the support is there, not just yourself, but other organizations, places where you can show them where they can go, not just myself, just in case I'm not available if something was to happen. They have to have a support place that they know they can go to, that if things get really, hard and if they're scared, what to do. Free legal advice in the background is a big one, because, if there's houses and money involved and children involved and you don't want to lose your children, etc., all those things. So it's an education process for them. And sometimes it's, it takes time, because remember, mental and emotional abuse is happening over a long period of time. And so to undo all of that, there has to take time. They can't just get up and leave because it's too overwhelming for them. Even though we want to sort of, sometimes I felt like putting my arms around them and taking them out of that situation and, immediately, but it's not always possible because the individual is not ready. So it was my job as a practitioner to help them get ready and make sure that they're never doing anything they're not ready for, that the support is always there, that they get educated, that they know where to go. All of these things are really, really important. So strengthening them so they have the self-empowerment to make that big step and put everything in place, the exit strategy, as I call it, the plan.
Thank you. And you mentioned 3 things which are awesome. Like, the first, like, hey, if you need the escape, I can help you with. Like, just hearing that creates a new reality, because when you're in this situation, you live in fear, and it's just the worst ever things are coming in your brain. That's the kind of, at least how it was for me. I don't know if everyone,
Yes.
but
It's true. It's true. Yeah. And sometimes they don't have the support of their family or their friends, because
oh yeah,
everybody thinks that it's a happy family, and they can't go to them. There's no trust. They might tell their husband, they're scared, so they have to keep it all to themselves, and they've got no outlet, no one to share it with. And just to be able to have someone that they can trust to share it with, that's one of the most important things.
yeah, and that brings hope.
Yes.
That brings hope. So yes, and then you mentioned what the impact of what would it have if she stay in this relationship for the children, which sometimes you kind of hear the opposite from the family, like, don't do it, like the children will have just one parent. And so it's important to have this kind of opposite way of looking at the whole situation, because then you see, okay, I can see that there are different realities, and me leaving can create this perspective for my children that this is not okay how I was treated, and this is why I left, and you shouldn't never put up with things like that, because children really see those things more than we really imagine, but or even think. And then you gave her books, like, or just educating. You mentioned about educating, and I, in the same time, I saw Paulette join us. Thank you, Paulette. And I wanted to welcome Connie. Thank you, Connie. I'm today a little slow, but that's interesting how our brain sometimes goes different. The healing is, I'm part of it still. Sometimes it's growing, and sometimes it's like grieving, and it's all, when you leave even. Sorry, I get emotional. But I always get emotional when little things come up. I'm like crying. But
Sorry, Anastasia, go on.
yeah, go ahead. I was about to give the mic to Stephen, and then
Oh,
Paul. Yeah.
sorry, Stephen. I was just going to close off with when I grew up in an emotional, abusive relationship, mentally, emotionally, and the one person that I had was my mother, and I was defending her all the time to save her as well. And when you're a child, you're too scared to do anything. But as you get older, you see it clearer, and you want to do something. And I was lucky that I had a very strong side to me, but it nearly killed me a few times over. And if I had have had someone to run to that would support me back then, it would have been a lot easier, and I wouldn't have reached near-death situations, suicide, etc. So I had to, just so that when there's mental and emotional abuse, I grew up with an extrovert narcissist father and an introvert narcissist covert sister that was poisoning me to the entire community, which I wasn't even aware that was happening. And the impact that does to you, which you're not aware that it's happening, but imagine your entire community growing up thinks that you're a person that is not who you are, and bad things have been spoken of you, so that your credibility, it gets completely shut down, and no matter what you do in your career, you cannot succeed, because that mentality of the majority of people in your community puts you in this box that you're not allowed to grow. So when I hit 30 years of age, I realized that I had to leave the state the place that I grew up in. And I remember I had $800 to my name, but I had to leave the area that I grew up in to go and start in a new area, which was 10 hours drive away, so that I could begin my life. And then I realized that if I hadn't have done that, I would never have healed. I had to literally physically remove myself from an area to be able to prove that, oh my God. And then when I went back 16 years later, this is very interesting. I had all the knowledge, the strength, I had healed, I had become the healer, etc. Then I heard all the things that were being spoken about while I was away, and I was able to bring all of that to a close. It was like a closure because I had the evidence, I had the knowledge and the proof of how to put it to bed, and I could prove all those things that were being said were not true. So when you're not in a position, because you don't have the knowledge, you don't have the awareness of how someone that you've only got one sister in the family, that's it. And you can't even imagine in a million years that person would say horrible things about you because you love them. And you think that they love you, but when you realize that they don't even have love for themselves deep down. So their way of operation and their operating system was, that's how they made themselves feel good, was by putting me down. I was the tall poppy. I was very successful, but I didn't realize that was affecting people in a negative way. And that shouldn't, and it almost made me feel like I had to shrink just to allow them to feel good about themselves, right? Because that's what people do when you're an empath and you want people to be happy. You will actually shrink yourself to nothing to make sure that they feel happy, because that's where you're at the time. When you learn everything, you realize that you should, doesn't matter what people think, you should shine your light as bright as possible, and you come out the other end, doesn't matter what abuse you went through, because that you have a reason to live, because your story will impact everyone else. That's why we're here today. And I just want to say, Anastasia, this is just the beginning of the impact that we're going to have on everybody that will see this now and in the future, and where it will grow to. And people will be coming, telling their stories, and more stories, because telling the story is what's the most important thing. So I just want to reiterate how important this work is. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And to all of the thrivers who participated in this, thank you, thank you, thank you. That's all.
Thank you, Anna, for adding that. And I love what you said, putting that boundary. And that's actually the next question we'll talk about the healing. But putting that physically, the boundary of like, I'm leaving physically, like 11 hours of driving, actually. This is a drive. So many things to think about. But I mean, sometimes you have no choice, that's what I did when I similarly did the similar thing, and I feel like Asta did similar thing too, left the origin place just because of that was the only one way to create some sense of safety, some sense. I'm not even talking about feeling safe. I'm talking about just feeling kind of a little more relaxed. But so I loved what you mentioned and what you brought here. Like, yes, the first thing is to live physically, and then you can live emotionally, we can live, psychologically, and it's all, process. But before we go there to the healing part, please, whoever feels like, I know nobody will unmute now thinking who was the first one. Okay, Asta, go ahead.
Thank you so much, Anastasia. And what I just really want to say, soon as we realize, what's something wrong, that's where I kind of noticed this is not normal. And yes, I leave the place like after first abusive moment, and I was pregnant and I did not have, where to go. So what I really done, I made the plan. And that's what I really, really like what Anne was saying, make a plan, go on planning. And actually, when I came back, I don't know why I'm not seeing myself on the stage.
Oh,
Let's see it now.
okay.
The first is the plan. And actually, after the plan, when my mind was there, I already actually give in my mind, in my actually whole body, that's it. And that's where magic started, what I don't even knew about universe powers and all what when you put your mind, people coming to help you. And I was surprised. Oh my God, I need to rent a place. Boom, somebody afford like telling me like, look, I know the woman who looking. I'm like, wow, amazing. And then my clients starting coming in and money starting coming in. When I was staying with this mind closed, was like no magic happening. And as soon as I opened my mind, that's it. Universe said, oh, finally, would you ever? Thank you. Now I help you. And actually, everything was coming in. Like I said, that time was a long time ago. I did not understand about universe powers and attractions, nothing. And the magic came, but like I said, I got a job even in another country. And that was another saving. And I know now why I was sent into the island. But actually, took me 34 years to heal it. So I would scream, and I'm screaming now a lot, and I'm live now on my page. So hello, please don't wait for some another terrible person, not terrible. They are just our teachers. And they coming to us and say, hey, honey, you didn't heal your past wounds. I will give you another one. And that's what happened to me. I attract another one and another one. And that's what I was really, really screaming all the time and trying to give this message. If one time or even twice, the same story keeps repeating, stop. Don't wait 5 times like I did. I was like, what's going on? But I didn't wait for that long. I was like, okay, next. Now I kind of smarter, but I didn't know what actually I need to heal me. Because I was this person who was angry inside, full of pain. And that's what I was attracting. The same people. They was all full of pain because they was probably abused some time in something in someone. And healing is the biggest point. And I remember someone who loved me dearly said it, Asta, you need a healing. And this word for me looked like, what? Healing? What is that? It's boo-hoo. Like my ego didn't want to, but my soul stopped and kind of like, what's that? And only then when I said, okay, this is not right. Something is wrong. It can be every man is terrible. Maybe something else in there. And when I went in my retreat in 1 year and then another year, and I started attracting more amazing things. And only 2 months working on me, I attract my now husband, who actually exactly what I want, exactly what we're growing together in soul growth, not only body and mind, and this in soul growth, and deeper, deeper. And only when I started to understand, you know what? Maybe it's not always about them. Maybe I need to look in my heart, and my heart very, very full of pain. Like full of pain. And that's where was needed to be cleared. We are mirror what we are attracting. I needed to dig into my childhood. I lost my dad when I was just a little girl. He told me as every morning, I love you so much. You are the best thing in my life. And then he went and worked and committed suicide. And my heart, when I got this message, locked it. Nobody will love you. Love is not real. If this man left you, they all the same. But I didn't know, really, didn't get it. Took me 24 years till I understood and cleared that pain, that everything. So then I understood what actually every man who was coming in my life, they gave me, wake up, go and do something about yourself. And now when I become a healer and working with people, I am feeling like, thank you for everybody who woke me, who stopped me, leaving me in there peacefully sleeping as I could. I'm beautiful, I'm lovely, I'm happy, la, la, la. No, you're not. Go and do something in this world. More people looking for real love, not just fake love for pictures. And that's what I do. I go and shake everybody who's trying to wake it up and believe in love again. And that's my biggest message, because I did not believe in love anymore. And being just a young child. And that's where was beginning of my love, message and pain. But I was needed. So let's look in our deeper wombs, why we attract them. That's all my message. Why is this happen? Don't sleep, wake up, question. And universe will send you teachers, will send you messages, will send you lives, will send you videos, because they are there. We just need to watch it, stop it, and ask, is this normal? Why me? And let's dig in. That's my message. And never, ever stop believing in love. Never. Mwah. Thank you. I will be crying soon, but that's happy tears. This is happy tears. I'm done crying from pain. I'm crying only with joy. Thank you.
Thank you, and always welcome. Thank you for that beautiful, vulnerable share, Asta, and how that experience made you for a while to stop believing in love, like unconditional love or pure love, or whatever name there is, like, and how you went for this beautiful journey on not just healing yourself, but just as well all what came up with, going through those dark moments of feeling the pain and anger, because pain and anger also comes up anytime when our boundaries are like broken by somebody else and we repress them. And then when we go into healing, it's like, oh my God, why I'm so angry? Well, this is just stuff you have been suppressing. I'm dealing with this right now too. I'm like, oh my God, there is still so much anger around my mother. Why? I did so much work, and so there's interesting layers, but I'm celebrating you and your transformation and your consciousness and how you grew, but also just welcoming, every emotion, because it all is welcome here. And that's why I also create those panels, that if there is a grief, if there is a sadness, then it's all welcome here too. And thank you for this beautiful share. And I love your the tunic you have with those butterflies. It looks like colorful anyways. And we had remind me, what's the order? Who can be in charge of this today?
I think normally it's the orders, the how the hands are raised. So it's the
Okay.
first person in the order, and then it goes
Oh,
through.
good to know.
Yeah.
Like
And
Stephen, I think you are the first now next.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So I have Stephen, Paulette, Tamar.
and it's lovely. What powerful shares to follow Anna and Asta about. It's this idea of transformation, and I have this belief that it's the most powerful, most sensitive souls that will actually choose this life of difficulty. And it's hard to say that, because when you're going through it, you don't think that we might choose this life. But it's my belief that we actually transform in this life the pain. And when we transform the pain and turn it into love, and I love what you said, Asta, about believing in love. I think this is something we get to the point where we're so hurt that we think that it's not real or we're ready to settle. But love is real. I do believe that love is real. And you can't settle in this life. And so it's my belief that it's the strongest of us. It's the most sensitive of us. It's the most conscientious of us that will choose these lives of difficulty and transform, because it has a double-fold effect on the world. Not only do we transform a life of pain that we wouldn't want anyone else to experience. We really don't want anybody to experience this life. And so we choose that and transform it. But then we have this net goodness in the world that can actually be a solve, to be a healing for some of the other pain that's out there. So that's what I notice, is that we're here for a purpose. We're here to do something and to believe in love and to inspire others that there's hope. And it's a challenge, because when you're going through this difficulty in life, when you're in a relationship like this, there's so many things that go along with that. You're sensitive, right? It's the most sensitive people that will find themselves, because the narcissist, the toxic people, they pick the best. They pick the most intelligent, they pick the most attractive, they pick the ones that emanate this beauty. And then over time, what I believe happens is this whole grooming phase that happens is they're actually reflecting back. They're really good at reflecting, but they're not good at creating. And so they reflect back to you your own love. And it seems so pure, it seems so natural, it seems so awesome. But then as it fades, right, because they will hurt you, it hurt you along the way, as you start withdrawing, and that's the first thing that I think happens, is we withdraw emotionally. We quit giving them the supply of positivity, of love. And as we pull away, then all of a sudden there's nothing left but this pain that they can emanate. And when they emanate that pain, they will cause pain for no reason. And so I think it's really difficult to say, okay, when's the time to leave? Because by the time you get to that point, it's been so good in the beginning. And then you're in this space of, you start doubting yourself, right? Because you're agreeable. And when they tell you you're at fault, when they tell you there's something wrong with you, they're reflecting the same words that you heard as a child. And so it's something that it's natural to you. If we had a healthy childhood, we wouldn't be in those relationships. We would know how to set boundaries. We would know how to live a life of, if somebody crossed that line, you'd say, "What's wrong with you?" And you'd walk out the door. But because people are agreeable that are the victims, you stay. And it allows you to have this trauma bonding where you end up, by the time you're ready to leave, because things were so good in the beginning, you're so deflated, right? You don't know where things are at, and you're intentionally been hurt so many times that now you start doubting yourself. You start doubting what's going on. So I think that there's something that's really powerful, and Asta and Anna both mentioned it. It's choosing. It's not even knowing if the answer. It's not even knowing where you'll go. It's not even having everything laid out. It's good if you do. And I liked what Anna said about planning. If you can plan, if you're emotionally, emotionally withdraw and you can plan to make your escape, and that's really what it is. It's an escape. That's the thing to do, because there's so much pressure, but you have to be wise in that, because I know someone that left a relationship, and her spouse told her that he would kill her if she left. And things got so bad that she said, "You know what? Kill me then. I cannot live with you anymore. I'm going." And she just made this step into power, and to realize that she was going to live life however it was going to be, and make that happen. And I hate that people get into that situation where they feel so controlled or so, pushed down, so depressed, because they have such a light within them. So my thought is for anyone listening to this that's going through a difficult, turn within. All of those things that you've been told, that you're at fault, that you're wrong, that you're not good enough, it's not true. And what is true is the very things that they're accusing you of, the very things that they're saying is bad about you. This is your superpower, being sensitive, right? Being in a place of being loving, right? All of these things, that's your superpower. And it's trusting in yourself. When you go through it, you lose trust in others, because they've isolated you. They've moved you into a space where, if you go to your friends and say, "Oh, I can't believe what this person's doing to me," they're going. A lot of times in a very toxic environment, your own friends would say, "That's not possible. They're such a great guy." because it's this whole falsehood that exists out there. So that in itself, it takes away your strength. But what I want people to know that are listening is that you're strong enough, right? Because those people are not your real friends, because they would know, they would listen to you. They're there they're there connected to the shiny object, to the person that's got this, this great personality, that's the life of the party, all of that, but they're not there for you. They don't really see or hear you. And once you make that connection, once you actually find your own strength, you might have to leave everybody, but the people that love you will actually come with you, right? They will care about you, and they'll say, "I never knew," but they will be there for you, and most importantly, being there for yourself. So that's all I'm going to say is that I loved what Anna said. I loved what Asta said. The first thing is making a choice. It doesn't mean you have to have the answer. The second thing is, if you can, don't make the choice in a moment of desperation or heightened emotion. Make it with a calm head. Make it from a place of peace. Because if you can make that decision, sometimes it'll be less costly. Sometimes it'll allow you to plan a little bit. You won't have to deal with the consequences of an abrupt exit. And then the next thing is trust in yourself. Trust that even if you don't have the answer, that it'll come to you. And I loved what Asta said. As you change this energy within you, you'll actually attract that from external. And it seems so difficult when you're in the darkness, but if you can just have a little bit of hope, everything will change. So thank you so much, ladies, for sharing such beautiful wisdom. And thank you, Anastasia, for creating this panel and the series. The work that you're doing is amazing. I appreciate you.
Thank you, Stephen, for just mentioning all what you just said. It was so powerful. And it all what landed for me in my body was when you mentioned, like, if we didn't had unhealthy childhood, we would just walk away. We would just close those doors. And I had like tears in my eyes. I was like, because every time, you hear that, is like validates you, validates what you've been through. Because when you're a child, you see it like, this is my mommy, this is my, and it's like this kind of thing. I don't want to betray them. This is my only word who will take care of me. So you can't believe there, anything else than idolizing them doesn't exist. But then you leave, you see things different, and then you are, whoa, okay. And that's where, not everyone goes for healing. Some people are not willing to do the work in this lifetime. That's another thing. So doing this hard work, which nobody's going to reward you except you, for you having more peace, more joy, more response before you get angry. You can, watch what's coming up in my body. Just having that quality, it's amazing. And so, but I'm curious, what came for Paulette and Tamar?
Yeah,
I love what you said. Whew, that was a lot.
yeah.
I feel the same
Whoa.
today. This is my
Okay.
feeling.
Deep breath. Of course, having had the horrible childhood leaves you vulnerable and looking for love, which means that the person who then uses you as a toy, because you are so vulnerable and you don't know that's what's happening, because you are just so grateful for the love that you were missing in childhood, makes you accept everything that you would normally, as you say, get up, walk out the door and say, this is not for me, thanks. But you don't, because it's the way that it's been. So you're grateful. And I think that gratitude for the wrong kind of love is damaging. And then that goes on to be repeated, as Asta says. You just keep going. Another one comes along, and comes another one, and incoming love. Oh, yes, please. I wanted some of that. Yeah, I'll take it at any standard, at any level, whatever you want. You can treat me as awfully as you do. And having done the work and done the healing, and then I don't know if this is the same for everybody, but I feel like I'm a witch because I can like look at situations and relationships now and I go, oh, okay, okay, I see that. And then I don't see the crown that the guy is wearing, Mr. Prince Charming. I see the way that you won't let her have her friends. I see that you are keeping her away from this or away from that. Won't let her join the PTA because we're, you know, whatever. I see things differently now. Prince Charming in a Prince Charming outfit doesn't have to be Prince Charming. It's just a mask. And we become wise and immune to that kind of portrayal of a person. That makes us having a superpower. Like I wear my pants on the outside now with big S on them because I see it and I say to women, especially I had a neighbor who had a very abusive relationship and I said to her, been there, done that, worn the t-shirt. My house is a safe house. It's across the road. If you ever need me, I'm here. And she said, can I send my children to you if I needed to? I said, yes, you can. That puts you in an incredibly vulnerable position because now you're reenacting what you've been through, what you've been able to heal yourself from and protect yourself from, and then you open the wound back up because you're trying to help other people. And even though you are healed, there are still little chinks in the armor that leave you vulnerable. And I became the safe house. And then one day it got very bad. And I will tell people this because it's important that this guy had guns. He was a farmer and he threatened to kill me, not her, because I was protecting the children. I was acting as her protection mechanism. And when she left, she came to me. She was in such a state. Everything that I had in me was strength for her. Forget what I'd been through, forget what I had dealt with. It became like this superpower, and I was going to help her and her children. And the police obviously had to get involved, and they were like, he's an upstanding member of society. He's always been a very good man. He's a relative farmer and can't take his guns off him because he's done nothing wrong. I said, what about threatening my life? Well, who's a witness to that? This is how it carried on. So he kept his guns, he kept his gun license, and he lived across the road from me. The children were all told by him that if they came with her, that she wouldn't be able to pay for their school fees. They would no longer be able to go to their school. They would no longer be able to do this, that, or the other. One by one, the children went back. That broke her. But she stayed. She stayed away. She divorced him. 2 of the children still won't have anything to do with her because they believed every word, every lie that he tells them, and continues to own them by money because he's a millionaire and can buy them. But she sees one, and one is better than none, is how she sees it. She knows she's not a bad person. She knows she was a good mother, and she knows this is out of her control. My life was okay because he moved as soon as he could. He sold the land up, which, whether people liked it or not, he then sold the land and houses got built on it, whatever. All my fault, of course. But anyway, by the by, the point of the story is that had there been Exposé, I could have said to her, sit and watch this. Because she could have sat and seen 6, 7, 8, 10 stories that replicate her exact life. Her family have been pushed away from her. They're now connected. Not her daughters, but her actual family, her two sisters. She has her family back. She now has a man who adores her and treats her like the queen that she deserves to be treated as. And she treats him like her king. Do I feel good about that? Yes, I blinking well do. But if Exposé had been out there, it would have been so much easier for me to have said, sit and watch this, because you will recognize so much of ourselves in everybody's story. Yes, they're different in all different ways, but in so many ways, there are similarities. If I hadn't been damaged as a child, would I have accepted what I accepted? No way would I have accepted it. I'm a strong character. I've got a brain, and yet you just don't see that because you are so desperate to be loved, right? But now we can say, look, ladies and men, this is what happens. This is how we react. And now there is Exposé to show you video of not to scare you, not to make you fearful, but to make you aware of this is the journey, and we've all been through it. Every one of us have felt this way. Every one of us. And so therefore we can't all be wrong. 88 of us can't all be wrong. So you, my dear, whoever you are watching this now, just know there's safety in numbers. Plan, have a plan if you can, because if you can do it with a strong mind, like Stephen said, it's a far better place than running out the door in fear and panic, as my friend had to. But I just want to leave it there.
Thank you for that share. And I'm just checking out. Are we still breathing? All of us are breathing. That was such a beautiful and powerful and vulnerable share, and your role in helping that woman to be safe, and probably even, in a way, saving her life and her children. And that's the question which sometimes I have, but is it like, where's the boundary? Where do I save people versus like, where do I focus on saving me? And it's like that balance between both. Because sometimes when we are been through some things we should never be exposed, we are, even when we don't have them anymore in our life, when we see them in other people's life, it's like, oh, familiar. Okay, I know how to do it. I lived through it. So we feel like kind of drawn to it. And that can distract us from doing some healing for ourselves, and sometimes stepping back and being okay. Because there's so much control we can have too. That's another thing, and our own mental health. And
But one thing, Anastasia, just before I shut up,
no,
I just want you to know that the work you've done is going to save lives. People are going to watch this, recognize behaviors, and that is going to change the world for so many. And so the pain, whatever pain I'm feeling at this moment, my breath is probably going a bit, but whatever pain I'm going through for 10 minutes, I'll take it, because this is going to save lives, and you are a hero of mine.
there you left me speechless. But I always feel like it's good to see the good in others, yes, and then be like, yeah, and being able to receive when somebody gives you a compliment. So that's That's something I'm working on, as we see. But getting there. But I just wanted to mention something which came to me when Paulette was speaking the story, and Stephen mentioned that when you leave is the most dangerous moment, when you actually mention it. That's like 70 to 80% the risk to being killed. It's raising up. The moment when you actually say, hey, I'm leaving, that's where people need the most help. So, I mean, kudos for you for being so brave to offer her that help, on that side, because she clearly, many women, and myself, I was in that situation too. When I was about to leave, it was like really, threatening and like scary. And so having somebody like you represent that energy of like, yeah, I have the space. So that actually is very helpful thing. So if you're listening to it or replay of it, and if you have the ability to help somebody who's going through some struggle, or just even send an address to a shelter, that could be, something what might be helpful, having a physically place to go.
One thing that came up, Anastasia, is it may sound strange, but you don't have to say that to the partner. I mean, it's better to call them from a place of safety, because the thing is you can say it usually that'll come up when you're in a heightened state of emotion. Just use that inside voice, right? Say it to yourself that I'm leaving, right? But don't say it out loud, and then start your plan. Because if you make it from that place of heightened emotion, a lot of times you don't want to elevate things. It's like if you've made the decision, just bring it back in. And sometimes I think that's a safer place to be. And that you can start the planning process, because it won't escalate all the emotions and everything else. So thank you for sharing that. But practice that inside voice, because you practice it a lot anyway. So just say that you're leaving, but don't say it out loud.
Safety first.
Yes. Thank you. It's almost like you have to act. You need to make your own movie, and you have to like be like, okay, now I'm going. You can make a little fun game out of it, so it's not so scary. I think that's how I manage some points in my life, but I guess, maybe that's applicable somewhere else too. But yes, Tamar, what came up to you when you were listening, or something around the process of leaving, and what you wished you had more of when you were leaving?
Well, so much. And thank you, Anna and Asta and Stephen and Paulette, for your shares. So much came up. Like I took some notes, and I'm so grateful for all of you. But when I left, I actually had called a few people in my community that I knew were safe and said, listen, it's just gotten to a point where I'm scared now. And nothing had been physical, it had been very mental and emotional abuse up until that point. And I kind of prepared them. And I said, I'm going to let him know I'm leaving. And I did that. And he actually came and attacked me. And I thought he was going to kill me that night. Um, but I had friends right away who came to pick me up, help me deal with the police. They walked me through that. So even though that was incredibly traumatic for me, having that community, and I know, Anna, you really touched on that, is having a plan, talking to people. I unfortunately, and I love my parents, I don't fault them because this is the way they were raised, but I grew up in a time where it was suck it up, don't share your emotions, you're stronger than that. And my dad always meant well, but it was always, okay, well, you did this, you could do better, or just, get up, brush yourself off and move on. And so I also watched my mother be a stay-at-home mom and do everything for my father. And although there was never any abuse that I knew of, within our family dynamics, I was taught to basically be quiet. And I'm an empath as well, right? And like Stephen had said, like make myself smaller, right? I think Asta mentioned that too. And so, and actually, since Anastasia and I actually spoke while doing the series, it was like I've realized that I was also trying to force myself into a world that I didn't belong. This past year I married the love of my life, and for 48 years basically of my life, I knew since I was 12 I was attracted to women. And because society said that was wrong and you weren't allowed to do that, I forced myself into heterosexual relationship after relationship because I just wanted to be loved. I felt different. I felt like I didn't belong. Addiction started for me. I was 22 years. I've been 12 years sober now. But I thought, isn't this what it's supposed to be? Like, aren't I supposed to get into a relationship with a man that can take care of me? I can take care of him, do everything for him. I can save him, right? I couldn't save him. And I'm grateful I got out. I actually, a few years ago when I finally admitted my truth and spoke my truth after a relationship with a narcissist, it's funny how this can repeat itself. It never got physical, but it was very, I had a stalker for a little while there because I spoke my truth. And I didn't even realize I'm in a relationship again, right? Because I just want to fit into the societal norm. Um, and it's hard for me to speak about that because it's only been a few years in since I've actually come out. But like I said, I've met the love of my life. And I've come to realize, and part of my healing has been to really work on myself. Getting sober was the first thing I needed to do, but I can't give to others what I haven't got. And when I'm running on empty and I'm not filling my cup up, I can't be good to the people around me. I can't fix other people. I can only support people. Um, and so that has been a big part of my healing is just, okay, what do I have to do? I think Anna, you mentioned it. Like, I now have three children that my partner adopted, all three of them with very serious mental health issues. Well, if I don't take care of myself, I can't support my partner as we walk through this journey together. Right. And I think for those women that are really struggling and feeling belittled and just made to be small, um, reach out, like get a community, get a support network, because for me, that was key. People I could talk to. And Paulette, what you're doing for other people, like, I mean, you're giving it back, right? You're paying it forward. And it's a very hard thing to do, especially when it puts our lives at risk. But Anastasia, I'm grateful that you've done this because it is, if we talk about this stuff more, then other people realize you're not alone in this. Because there's so many people since I've started to talk about stuff, openly, that they will admit, oh, I've gone through this too, right? And there's, a lot of us have gone through this. We just have to talk more. So I'm grateful that I could make it today because this is so special and being able to share with all of you and hear what you all have to say because that helps keep me going in the right direction.
Thank you for your share. I just thought about the right direction as if we knew what's the right direction. It's like you always think you know, right? It's like, now I got it. Now
Yeah.
I'm get smarter. But it's just, I love, because I'm the similar way. I'm like, this is never going to happen again, which is real and true. Because you need that masculine energy in you. Be like, this is no, that boundary. But I love your whole process, and I also acknowledge, yeah, wow, how you had to question everything, like who I am, what's my sexual, everything. Like that's some work which not many of us want to look inside. That's like looking in the demon's eyes, kind of what people used to say. Because it's like, it's not good nor bad, it just is. Like, I just want to see it. I want to allow myself to create a space and find who I am. Because when you have been suppressed for so many years, just having that space is like, wow, I actually can decide. Like, wow. And for many of us, including myself, it's the first time you can say no. You can say actually yes. You can really feel it in your body. Like, yeah. So that's so powerful. I'm so glad that you are in a happy relationship as well, and having 3 children who are going through their own things, mentally, emotionally, like, and helping them have a better life. I mean, that's enormous. That's something what, you know, not many people would agree and say yes, because that's, 20 years, that's a lot of responsibility. And be that energy for somebody else, it's a lot. And then finding time to be like, okay, now, I need to take care of me, what I need, between many things which I don't even realize what can be going on in your life there are too. So it's like, how do we create a space for all of that? For me, for them, for what else is there for me, because the different things can come up even now, and just being okay with, like, I don't have to get it right.
Well, and today I have the courage to tell my partner, I have to do this for me so I can be there for you.
Wow.
And I have to use my voice more, right? Which has been helpful.
And how did it feel when you said that?
I was like, I can't believe that came out of my mouth.
Yeah, like,
I hope I didn't
said-
hurt her feelings, right? Because but
Mhm.
it felt very empowering, and it was very well taken, and it's also reciprocated, so, which is a first.
That's wonderful. That just means, your boundaries are respected, and yeah, you're in a good relationship, because that's you're surprised when you are respected, right? It's like, oh my God, I don't know.
Yes.
You expect the worst, and like, anyways, but it is all there. Like, even when we don't name it and don't bring it, so many people every day are dealing with it. They're in a new relationship, but they are expecting the worst. Like, they don't ask, or when they ask, they expect the worst, because of there is still some layers of like, psychologically being in some conflict. Like, I don't deserve to be treated well, like, and that's another. I think, like, in 2 weeks we have another premiere. We can talk about the healing, but before we start the screening, I see Anna and Steven raise their hands. So let's go to Anna and Steven.
I can't remember if I can't remember if I was first. Okay,
Yes,
thank
you
you,
were
Steve.
first.
Okay. Tamara, I wanted to say congratulations. Coming into your truth and speaking your truth is where you are free. That is the beginning of freedom. When the truth comes out, and good on you for having the courage to do it, because that's where it starts. The difficulties that we face and that Tamar has faced is not just within her own circle, but this is an entire community. I mean, we look at what religion has been teaching, and I'm all for believing in a higher something bigger than outside of ourselves, but I don't believe in the business of religion, and it has caused more problems and wars, and it has caused more divide in our community than anything else. We should be looking at humans as a human, and instead of teaching the culture that religion and the society has created to, if you're a little bit different, you're the devil. I mean, hello, we are human. And it doesn't matter whether we're skinny, fat, tall, short, whatever. If we have one arm shorter or one leg shorter than the other, it doesn't matter what sexuality we choose. It's irrelevant. We are human, and we should be there for our brothers and sisters as a whole. And that's why I say, it takes a village to raise a child, but it takes a village to destroy one as well. So we're changing we're breaking down the system that society and whoever started it for a very good reason, to be able to have to be able to call upon religions to divide people. I mean, that's how this world structure is, which is being broken down at the moment. We're at the beginning of the breakdown. We're coming to a head with the structures and the powers that be that have set up this false indoctrination, where the community is turning against one another rather than sticking together. And this is so much bigger than us, because it is so much more involved as a whole society with what we have been taught as children. I mean, if you look at children with what they've been taught by the parents, they can be very cruel. Children can be very cruel to other children at school. And where does that come from? It comes from the teachings. And where does that come from? From the ancestors. And where does that come from? And how far back does it go? Now we're in a new world where we are speaking our truth. And this is why it's so important to speak your truth. And we have to support one another as a community. So when someone is being ridiculed, we have to step in and save that soul. And the more we do that, and through this documentary, which is going to save souls, as Paulette said, saving lives, it doesn't matter where you come from, what color your skin is, how tall you are, what sexuality, it doesn't matter. None of that matters. We're human and we have a soul. You know, and this is what we have to look beyond and treat each other as our brothers and sisters. Even the enemy, until we can teach that being, that soul, that there is a better way forward, even for that person who hasn't reached that level of awareness of self-love. And so we have to lead the way, lead by example, and that's what we're doing. And so I just want to say thank you, Tamar, because you're very brave, and that's where, you know, that's the beginning. And we are all here to vouch for everyone, to support everyone, no matter what they're going through, no matter what they went through. We are one big family, and that's what we need to continue to do, and bring all of those people who haven't found somewhere to go, and show them that there is a way, and there is a community that believes in you, no matter what you think of yourself. We believe in you. Doesn't matter what doesn't matter that you grew up with one shorter leg and that you were teased. Those people didn't have the awareness. Those kids didn't have the awareness. I mean, how many times do you hear of parents rejecting their own children for reasons that are not they're not common sense? You know, you just go, wow, they've rejected their child because their child is overweight. How can you do that to your child? You know, how can you reject that beautiful soul just because it has some genetic issues with fat burning? I mean, but that's the truth. That's the reality that we face, right? So, you know, I think that's important to mention too. The abuse comes from all types of, from all angles, from family members, not just from partners, but it starts in the home. And we've got to show the community that there is a better way. There is a better way. That's all.
Thank you, Anna. And I'll be quite brief, Anastasia, because I know that you're getting ready to start
Well, I want to make sure this is very important, that we have time. Yeah, I mean, you can, yeah, we have time. There's no rush. I don't like to rush anybody. Sorry. That's part of me who, I just want to let you know that if after we do the shares, if you need to leave, that's okay. That's totally fine. Like, you are on your own schedule, your own clock. You can leave anytime. I'm aware there's a middle of night for anyone. So with that said, we have time. Go ahead. But thank you for asking.
Thank you so much. And so, Tamar, what a wonderful share. And I found something particularly interesting is that when you first stood up for yourself with your voice, it felt uncomfortable. And I think that's something that we learn, because a lot of these things of self-care are skills. And we don't start off, just like a baby learns to walk, we don't start off excellent at it, and we get better with practice. So things like boundary setting, standing up for yourself, listening to that internal voice, all of that, those things are things that we get better at. And so the biggest thing that I just wanted to highlight for anyone that's listening, because when you're in that place where you're down, where you're sometimes it's complicated because it may not be just all bad or all good. It may be in this area where it's confusing. And the biggest thing that I want to leave people is this idea of trusting themselves to actually believe that there's hope, to believe in love, to believe that you're worthy of the goodness. And we started off this whole conversation with like that sign of when to leave. And it's this idea of ask yourself when someone mistreats you, if they wound you, and it could be a word, it could be physical. I want you to ask yourself a question for anyone that's listening. It's, what is the belief that I carry about myself that allows this behavior to be okay or to be tolerated? Because if you can answer that question, sometimes you'll actually get to this root cause of something that's not even your belief. It might have been said to you, but trust how you feel about it. Know whether this is something that's really true. And most of the time, it's not going to be true. It may have been said to you, but even when you heard it the first time, it wasn't real for you. And the moment that you can realize, okay, I have this belief, now it's this choice, being on a journey of finding, okay, how can I find my self-worth? How can I stand up for myself? And even if you're not perfect at it, it's okay. Just learn as you go along and get better at it as you go. And it's this journey. This is our life. I mean, this is a beautiful experience, this human experience. And take advantage of it, of knowing that you're responsible for living. And if you're living in a life where someone is wounding your heart, is wounding your body, you deserve better. And I want people to know they deserve better. They deserve to be treated with kindness, with love and respect, and everyone deserves that. So thank you, Anastasia.
Thank you, Stephen. Thank you for that question. Yeah, it's a deep question of like taking a step back and like, yeah, going to really the essence of what that reminds me of, like the situation from the past where I agree or where I got some message, like whatever it was, like this is okay or this is normal. And then going back, no, this wasn't okay, and being maybe the first person who calls it not okay, and that deep betrayal of like this happened from somebody who should give me love. Yeah, it should never happen. Like I think that's so powerful to name it, because many times when you bring that up in your family after years, it's like, why are you talking about it? Like this was the past, because of course, not of course, but not everyone heals. After time passes, you heal, you did your journey, you're ready to talk. But many times you are like, okay, they're still there. They're not able to talk just like back then. Or maybe they did some healing, but it's not really what it could be. So yeah. And I realize, going back, speaking about your sexuality with your family and being like, are you guys able to listen to me, like hear me now? Or like, and being okay with, or not being okay, but just whatever comes up when they're not. And it's not just like, I love what Anna mentioned about all those rules which the society brings you, like conditioning around, what's right, what's wrong, as if you are born here with consciously choosing everything you got from the very beginning. Is like, and you judge me for that. It's like, hello, like I didn't choose my sexuality, I didn't choose the color of my skin, I actually didn't. But for some reason it creates some impressions, judgments. And then you live in this world of isolation when people see you for something they've seen with similar, appearance or just whatever comes for them. And we live sometimes in this world of projection. And it's the opposite of the connection, because of we truly, what if we could live in this world where we can just be, just be. That would be, I would, yeah. I mean, I'm struggling with it myself, and just I'm learning all of the unconditioning, but I feel like I can imagine that. That brings me kind of, hope that maybe that's where we are aiming to see each other without the, politics. Because here in United States, people are, before the elections, and it's like, it's crazy, honestly. For somebody like me who came here 4 years ago, and I'm like, this is interesting. On another side, how to not manipulate people to isolate each other, but a little bit, it's all kind of isolating people. And you can use religion, you can use politics, and yeah, I mean, this is not okay. And this is kind of another way of abuse, which is kind of why, from the micro level, and then you have the micro level, which we are not going to focus now, but it came to me. But I can see we have Asta and Paulette wanted to share. I hope I make sense, because sometimes I go too far.
Yeah, no problem, honey. We all understand you. We all there, and we was there, and we are, some of us still there. So it's all good. And I love when Anna and everybody was saying, we living by some condition. Somebody conditioned us. But it's like interesting when we go wanting to buy a car, what we need to get first, even bike, I don't know how it's in other countries, you need to get some license and to know the road rules. Nobody will let you just go kill yourself. Because we teach, like from young child, we teach, look at right, look at left, look at this, then you can walk. But a love life, this feeling life, this emotional life, nobody really wants to talk about it. Like, especially when I'm thinking, we hoping that our parents come and do some good job, but nobody teach them. They was in the same place as we hoping someone will be better. But I think now it's time for us to be those first people. Let's do it different way. Let's break that chain of old way. We're going into new golden age. Let's be those people of golden different chains if we want to. Chain of love, chain of this, if we want that chain. If we need to have a chain. But let's change that old chain, because we all connected through love, through heart, through everything, the power of this universe. We all connected. But let's kind of somehow change that connection a little bit different. And what I was talking before, another broadcast, I was saying, what about if we closed our eyes and how we feel to each other? Not about, as we talking, what religion, politics, COVID, and other, you vaccinated, not vaccinated, always want to divide with something. But it all starts from us, from here. I don't even watch news. I don't give a damn what they do in there. Let them play their own games. It's not my game. It's not my game there. Okay, I create my own game. I will create, like now we playing our own games. We don't have in here like some politicians sitting in there, because they're not our players, not our friends, like not our game players. We all can create our own little life, world, film, movie, anything we want. We are creators. And let's break that chain of different old way. And only by being an example. And that's exactly, I agree with everybody what we was doing. We was talking, we all done something, broke that chain. But for love and all other things, like I said, we going and taking some big learnings, how to drive a car, how to push the button, and how is this and that. But we never went to any school when we was teenagers, how to love yourself. And that's where I'm really going now a little bit deeper with the teenagers kind of talking, mothers, you know, and all that, because that's where it starts. It's not only when we already married, that's kind of a bit late. We are lucky if we're lucky. But luck, what is luck? You know, we never know what is exact that luck. You could be lucky living, pretending you are happy. Many people do. They say, oh, I have a 25 marriage. Are you happy? But I kind of would love different way, but it's too late now. So what is that lucky? What is that happiness? You know, so I feel we need to learn a little bit more before we even do say, okay, I think I'm ready for love. Or even, you know, and like I said, we are coming to teach others, but actually our kids is our teachers as well. My kid teach me so much. And, you know, and he's like, oh, you just life coaching me. But actually, he's life coaching me a lot. And I can't even say nothing for him. And I'm saying, thank you, honey, you know, because yes, I am repeating my mother's and my dad's and all memories, you know, lives, styles and everything. But then I kind of want to start doing a little bit different, just like my son does and my nieces and all that. Let's not push them that old way. Oh, this is how it should be. This is how my grandma done it. No, forget about it. So let's be this new, light, different. And if you don't like it, it's okay to break it. Like, no worries. Nobody told you that's how you should be. We can change anytime. And that's my biggest message. We can change. We can play our own game. Even could be 2 people in your game. No worries. Could be imaginable. No worries. And you will start attracting those people who want to play with you in your castle of sand. But you will attract them. That's how we all in here. I don't even know anybody of you. But then we somehow got together. And thousands of miles. But love of energy attracts us. And that's where biggest power of everything what's happening. It's with reason. And our change is different. Golden, for the golden age. Mwah. And I love you all, what you are together in mind, playing games and thank you.
I'm going to just say something very quickly that I think is relevant, but it's not me self-promoting. I believe in the mind. I'm trained in the mind. I work in the mind. Stephen and I are in the same wellness world. And I certainly believe that you have an inner voice. And I talk about children having an inner voice and listening to that inner voice, because 9 times out of 10, the inner voice knows. And I've had children tell me their parents are in an abusive relationship because the children can see it, but necessarily the parents can't. So if the work that I'm doing, teaching children the difference between the conscious mind and the subconscious mind with storybooks, if I can enable a brain from the mind from the age of 7 to 12 to have that knowledge, by the time they're 12, that's embedded. They take that on into their older years. They're already ahead of us. They're miles ahead of us. And then they go from there stronger, and they're wiser, and they are watching behaviors, and they notice. And I think that the way that I'm trying to position it so that children, I know it's a song and everything else, but children are our future, and we have to show them the way. We have to show them a different way so that they don't end up in the same mess but we all did. And so my life's work now is working children, enabling them to listen to their inner voice. And I'm asking everybody who's watching this, if their child tells them, "Mummy, don't let Daddy hit you again," have a think about why they said it. Or if your child says, "Mummy, I'm scared," if the child says, "Mummy, I'm scared of what might happen next time," if that isn't a red flag to you, it's a red flag to your child. And we're in this together. We can't hide and we mustn't hide. And it's brutal. And I don't sound very kind. But on the contrary, I'm the kindest I can be because I live in the real world with real situations. And I've dedicated my life to therapy for children for free so I can help them. But if I help the children, I have to help the parents. And that's the hard bit. But we will get there because of things like this. Exposé is going to help so many. It helps me because I can tell people where to go and look. I don't have to tell them to hunt for a video on a maybe, could be, should be site. It's all there. And so I would just say this. If you're watching and your child tells you, "Mummy, I'm scared," or "I'm scared for you," just have a think about that. Because sometimes the red flags are so red. We've seen them so many times. We don't see them anymore. Thank you.
Thank you, Paulette. And how people, what's the, I forgot the name of the, how people can find more about the books. What's the website?
It's Jack and Water. So it's www.waterontheweb.com are the books. And they are given away to charity. So it's not for profit, or my husband calls it an all for cost, which I don't think is the same thing, but it is what it is, right? But it helps children, and that's what matters. And the Jack is the little boy, and Water is his inner voice. And he never quite works that out. But when you use your inner voice, and we all do, we know. You can't hide from your inner voice. So that's all I wanted to say on that. It's so important if your children are part of this situation that you're in, break that chain, break that cycle, because you don't want your children to end up in the same position doing a film like this in 40 years' time.
Thank you, Paulette. And I also will add to the description the website. If you are watching on YouTube, I'm going to add the link later on. But yeah, it is what you mentioned around like children talking, speaking for us. It feels kind of like scary, and also it's like so easy to judge yourself. So I just want to bring that up, that whatever you're going through, that you're doing your best, and that's why we all need kind of support network, because it's really deep when you look on all the reasons why we stay, which we're just about to watch the documentary. Will be 55 minutes. If you all need a break or anything, now it's the time, or just want to also leave the stage if anyone want to add anything, or is there anything checking out? And thank you, for, Stephen. You mentioned the next documentary can be about healthy love. So that's actually one of the future episodes. So there's the, I think the episode 11 talks about the healthy, green flags, healthy relationships, but we need to go through the whole, we don't need to, but, it's kind of, I like taking things slow, because sometimes when we take it slow, we can really look, things come up. And it's, I watched this weekend, there's this movie called Woman Speaking, and it's 70 minutes. And the whole movie, it's about just women trying to make their mind if they leave or stay in the village. And I was watching it passionate. And, I was with my boyfriend, and he's like, why there's no action? Like nothing, the whole movie, he fall asleep, and I was watching it because I knew those women were where I was. It takes literally so long. The whole movie was just about, at the end they left. That was the last 5 minutes. But the whole 70 minutes was them making their mind, writing the pros and cons. And that's what you have to do. Like having that space actually to logically write it out can be helpful. And because there is also trauma bond. That was the last thing I wanted to mention, which is just addiction, basically. It's just as we get addicted to sugar or, alcohol, drugs, whatever, or sex, it's just the same chemically way of dopamine. And, you can look it up, but just to keep it simple, that's why it feels like so scary to leave. It's also the fear of unknown, but also like when I'm going to get the next dose of that, pull in and then withdraw, pull in, like that dynamic. It's basically how the brain is addicted. So when we don't get that, it's like, I will have to feel it. What am I going to do with it? And that it's called anxiety separation. That's what we feel. I remember when I left, I was like feeling, oh my God, I have to message him. Even though it was like, what am I doing? I didn't do it, but I was like, I had to literally stop myself from not going there, because for the first time, I had to realize, I had to stop blaming him, but being like, okay, what comes up for me? So just wanted to bring that as well, that not judging ourselves, because wherever we are in those moments, it's exactly how we need to be in order to change for some things. But yeah, having that support and just holding space to feel it, having somebody to call at, wherever you feel like I have to connect with that toxic person, which in your mind is still like, no, he loves me, I love him. Because back then you're still loving the person. Part of you is like, remember the good times, yay. So it's having somebody to just let them know, like, hey, I'm struggling. And sometimes, tears coming from you and you're like, oh my God. That's all what I needed to say. But yeah, it is many times those little moments which are like giant, because if we're conditioned not to ask for help, then it's like, I'm scared to give a call. Like they don't care. I'm alone. It's really amazing, powerful thing to just do for yourself, to just admit to others, I'm not doing well, because we're conditioned to just be like, no, I'm fine. It's okay. I got it. I figured it out. But being like, I'm actually not okay. And it's okay. And you don't have to do anything about that. It's like, I just want to let you know I'm not. Yeah. So, all right. Well, thank you. So I will start sharing the screen, and You can go to the bathroom meanwhile, as I will take, 60 seconds probably. Thank you, Stephen. Sure. Here we go. Okay. Okay, and if in case if you get a little trigger, then remember you can walk away, take a few breaths, and also do some tapping for the grounding. I just wanted to let you know you can leave anytime. There is, or if you are watching on YouTube, you don't have to watch it all now. Just your safety, your comfort, that's what matters the most. Just letting you know this content is triggering. Okay. This is not only story of those 88 people, but this is a story of so many of us. My name is Anastasia Gajkowska, and when I left my abusive relationship, I wanted to create a movie, a film, a documentary where I interview not only survivors, but thrivers. I mean, people who left abusive relationships and they're really thriving now. I flew to Hollywood to learn the art of making films. I asked 8 questions. This documentary is a sample of combined stories. I use my laptop camera, my phone camera. Many recordings you will see in this documentary were filmed by survivors in their own home. All our participants decided to share their story voluntarily. 88 stories, one soul, one voice, one calling for the whole humanity. Hello and welcome. In this video, we are going to talk about the transformational moment. The moment when all those 88 thrivers decided enough is enough, I'm leaving. The aha moment. Enjoy.
Leaving is the most dangerous time for victims, and it takes an average 7 to 10 times to leave.
The right time to leave is when you're safe to do so, right? Because we also have to be very careful of, in situations of domestic violence, of physical violence. Emotional abuse is a form of domestic violence, but if there's any danger of physical violence, then the right time to leave is when you have a safety plan and you have worked with your local domestic violence shelter to create a safety plan.
Sometimes we want what we want, and sometimes we can see red flags, but because we want a family, we want to buy a house, we push past it because we want what we want.
Relationships shouldn't be this much pain. And, I think when the pain gets worse than the joy, it's time to leave. If the other person especially is not listening or doesn't want to go to therapy, it's really hard. And I know, people have children and they stay, and it affects the children so much, if you stay too long. So it becomes complicated, but I think it's individual for everybody, when you're going to leave and when you're going to stay. But I don't know, in my experience with so many people, I know that when it's time to go, you know it. You just know it. You could be devalued and getting breadcrumbs for months and then years, and we just kind of like play it off. Oh, they're just them, or you know, you're so dying for that love bombing that you think you could go back there. But you know, I think that's one red flag that I think is ignored a lot, is that we just brush it off, the devaluing. And we know something's not right, but we're not consciously aware.
Today, I looked deep inside his eyes and I saw darkness. I can't do it anymore. I woke up in the middle of night and I wanted to scream. Ah! I wanted to scream so bad. But he was lying next to me.
When my baby girl, who's 6 years old, looks at me and says, "Mommy, it's okay if Daddy hurts you, as long as he can come home." That is not what I want my child to think. She does not need to think that it's okay for a man to hurt her.
He threw me on the ground and kicked me in my stomach. I was pregnant. I had to stop myself from smothering him with that pillow.
My little boy came in, his dad was yelling at me. And he looked up at his daddy, stood in front of me, and he looked up at his daddy and he said, "Please don't hit my mummy." And that just broke my heart. I have to take this child away from the situation or this cycle is going to continue.
Yo me fui a bañar y me estoy bañando toda enjabonada con el champú y él jala la cortina y me pone a puño y me dice, "One more word and I'll fuck you up, bitch." Y sabía de que si yo decía una palabra más, él me iba a malmatar y me quedé frisada.
He came in screaming and shouting and said like, "Where's my dinner?" And he just slammed the plate. I just knew that moment, this has to stop.
I had done everything and I knew it wasn't going to get any better, so I needed to leave to protect myself so that I didn't end up dying myself.
He had already told me that he was completely comfortable killing me. I did not have any kind of safety or comfort.
Every type of abuse I had experienced. I was stabbed, I was choked.
I was forced to leave him. He almost killed me.
Is tonight the night that he kills me?
I was going to work black and blue. It's time to get into an argument. I could die. The last night we got into an argument. He was on top of me and he was choking me. And I didn't think I was going to get out alive because he was choking me so hard.
There was just this voice in the back of my head just saying, "You're never going to be loved. Nobody's ever going to care for you."
And I was standing there and a voice in my head, I heard, "If you jump, is it high enough to kill you? If you jump over the rail of this balcony, are you high enough up so that when you hit the patio, you will be dead?" And I just went, whoa, wait a minute, who is that?
I texted a friend that I was basically gonna commit suicide. My mother came into my room and, told me how I had embarrassed her.
If you're in a relationship with a narcissist and you're the girlfriend or wife, you are an extension of them. If you are the child of a narcissist, you are an extension of them. They don't see you as a separate autonomous being who has their own life and their own aspirations and their own ideas of things. So if you deviate from what they want for you, it's a real problem.
I had enough and I ended up going to the mental hospital, and because I wanted to end my life. But that was because I knew something had to change, and unfortunately that was my thoughts on how it should change.
How did it happen? How did you get there? Where did you go? Because I was pretty much rolling from one very unsafe, toxic, actively violent atmosphere to
And I remember this moment hysterically crying, standing in their apartment.
and it was like ripping a bone out of my body. I must have stood there crying for 30 minutes while they like said malicious shit to me. Just move your feet. And it took 30 minutes, but I finally walked out.
Just like waking up and just like packing all of my stuff and getting in my car and driving back to Colorado and just being like, I'm done. It's time to step back and to like liberate myself. Like, I don't know who's gonna love me. I don't know how that's gonna look, but like, I have to choose myself.
Just from all that pain, it woke me up.
He kidnapped me and held me against my will, and he nearly took my life. Was choking me out, and I was going in and out of consciousness. And this voice in my head said, a very soft, subtle voice, tell him you love him. And in my mind, I'm going, no, I'm not doing that. I don't love him. This animal's trying to kill me. Tell him you'll stay with him. Tell him he can stay here. Tell him you're going to be together. Tell him you're not going to tell anyone. But my body was wanting to fight. I followed the guidance from this voice, step by step, and that is what saved me.
And she said, and looked me dead in the face, and was like, honey, you're being abused. And you know what that means? And I said, no. Please, no. Because it's mental illness. It's because he's depressed. It's because he's sick. He doesn't mean it. And she said, sick people don't hurt people. They're just sick. I said, I have PTSD. I did things to control my environment because I was afraid. And she just looked at me like, and I died. I said, no, I did everything I could to avoid it. Because not only did I see where my trauma made me toxic, but I also couldn't unsee that his wasn't just toxic, it was abuse.
I had found out he was cheating on me with a coworker, and during that time he professed his love to me. We were together 12 years at this point. He professed his love to me. We'll go to therapy, baby. You're all I want. I can't do this life without you. We started therapy. And that whole time I still had that gut feeling. I still had that feeling he was still seeing her. So it was about 3 months after I found out about the affair. We had, like I said, been doing therapy, and I thought been doing great, but still just in the back of my head. And it was 3 months after that he made a comment one night, and he did it to elicit a fight. And we fought, and I ended up leaving, and he ended up calling up his mistress that he wasn't speaking to and taking her on a vacation. So after that, I stayed away, had no contact for 2 weeks. And during that time, he did everything he could. He ended up proposing to me, sending me money so that I can buy a diamond ring, and convinced me to move back into our house with our kids. And when I prepared myself to move back into the house, he actually was preparing to move out. Even though he convinced me to move back in, he was moving out at the time. He moved in with his mistress and married her 12 days later.
I would say the aha moment came for me the night I got to my breaking point, that I had said, I have had enough. This particular night, he had started beating me from like 9 o'clock the night before, and it went till about 2 o'clock the next morning. So he would stop, go. And it was also the first time that he had grabbed a weapon. So he had used a knife during this attack. And although he didn't use it on me per se, he was threatening to slitting my throat. So he would press the knife up against my throat to let me know that he could slit my throat at any time. And, you know, a lot of punches about the body, a lot of, you know, hard punches, upper torso, upper hip area. He was spitting in my face, something that he had never done before. He was slapping me, something that he had only done the very first time that he had hit me. He had now was doing it again. And so I knew that this particular attack was unlike any other attack from before because of the level that it had risen to. And when he was done at about 2 o'clock the next morning, he just lay down in my bed and went to sleep like nothing had happened. And 2 hours later or so, I felt the sharpest pains that I had ever felt. Like it felt like a dagger was trying to pierce through my skin. And I was like, okay, you have to, like, either you stay here and he wakes up and starts again and like really kills you because he's still mad, or you get up and you go get help for yourself. And thankfully I had lived about maybe 5 minutes driving from a hospital. And so I got up very quietly and got dressed and took myself to the ER. At that point, I knew that I was physically done with the relationship. Emotionally, no, I still love this person. As crazy as it sounds, I still loved him. I just wanted the abuse to stop. And I know that I could not be or continue in the relationship physically, because if I did, I would end up dead. Or continue in the relationship physically, because if I did, I would end up dead. Or really hurt. So I thankfully was diagnosed with upper hip and upper torso contusions, which meant he had punched so hard that the inner flesh had been swollen and bruised from the attacks. And I had a small gash on my head that they treated with, medicine or antibiotics or whatever. So what I had was thankfully able to be treated with medication and ice, but could happen next? So again, I physically took myself forcibly from that relationship that morning and knew that I was done, especially after all, it didn't just end there, because as I said, this is a dangerous time for victims, and it was no different for me. And so everything that happened after I left reinforced and reiterated why I needed to stay gone from this relationship.
Just a short story, we were on holidays with another couple, we were partying, heavy partying. The couple who was with us had a fight. Something happened, I don't know, because I was in my own cloud. Something happened with them, and then my boyfriend just snapped. Yeah, just snapped. First it was, okay, we are going, let's go. Okay, so I started running. I left my shoes on the beach where we were partying because he just left. Okay, we got to the house. Obviously, we rented a house who was secluded with no neighbors around, so we can party. Yeah. So then when we got home, the beating started. No explanation. We didn't have any fight. There was no conversation. He just started beating me up. So it was first, I don't remember the pain. I don't remember any of the pain. I remember fighting back. Then I remember my hands hurting from fighting, not from his hits. Okay, so I realized, okay, so I'm hurting myself, like my nails and everything, like that hurts more than his fist, so something's wrong. I remember flying around the room. Again, no pain, because like when somebody is hitting you, after like first couple of hits, the adrenaline and everything takes over, so you don't really feel. I really felt like a punching bag, but not feeling you don't feel the pain anymore. It's the good thing with our our brains are saving us. I remember in one point realizing, and this was the moment that changed my life completely, I realized that I do not have control. I cannot control, will I live or die? When you come to that realization, and it's really experiential. It's not somebody will tell you, oh, but you are risking your life. No, it's now. If this person decides, I am no more, and I can not do anything about it. That realization changed my life completely. Every single thing that I did after was completely different because of that situation. For me, when I realized that I do not have control, I did not go into victim mode in the sense he has the control. My brain connected this somehow, not to him personally, but to life. So it doesn't have to be my boyfriend who's beating me up. It can be a boss, or it can be, I don't know, whatever, life. And I do not have control. I don't decide. Tomorrow or today or now. Who knows that now I'm holding this cup, my heart can stop. There was a lot of healing to do, and I was destroyed. He broken 2 of my ribs. My face, oh yeah, my face was... Okay, so I have a best friend that we are best friends for 25 years. I could not face her. I could not face her for, I think it was almost 10 days. That's how my face looked. That was the night when I was born again. So after that experience, I realized that my body healed, and I was noticing, especially because I was at home and I didn't want anybody to see me, you could notice how your body really heals quickly. Like, my life has changed. I can't even say how much from that point on. Every single thing in my life changed for the better. For the better. Tamara, that was in that relationship, died that night because I gave up. I said, okay, if you want to kill me, kill me.
I made the call. He was at work and I said, listen, I need you to come this weekend and pack your stuff. I'll be gone, but I can't do this anymore. And he actually sounded a little bit drunk, right? Because they drank at work. And he said, you know, you can't leave me. This isn't going to happen. And he was very angry. He was very hurt. He started yelling on the phone. And I remembered being really fearful in that moment, but I thought, okay, it's okay. I can, you know, lock the door. He'll calm down, but he ended up using after that. And of course, in the middle of the night, I went to bed. I was lying there and I saw a shadow come across my room, like the window, and I knew that he was coming in, right? And he had a key, and I was paralyzed. Like I had no idea that, you know, I guess it's not that I didn't have any idea. I just never thought that somebody who apparently loved me so much and was so remorseful for his behaviors could, you know, be aggressive. But I knew it instantly. Like, I froze. I couldn't get out of bed. I couldn't run to the door. Nothing. I couldn't move. And I heard him unlock the door and come storming down the hallway, and he turned on the lights. And he came in, and you could just see the anger, and you could see the sweat off his face because he was high. And he just said, you know, you're not leaving me. And he grabbed me by the legs off the bed, and I kicked him. And then he jumped on top of me, and I tried to push him and kick him off me. And I finally made him kind of stumble backwards. But he took a bottle of pennies, an old milk jug of pennies, and threw it against the wall, and glass shattered everywhere. And then, you know, he yanked me up, flipped the mattress, and dragged me down onto the floor with my arms, and dragged me through that glass. And I just, I was screaming. Thank goodness we had people upstairs that were, our landlords, and they ran downstairs, which scared him off. But he was, it was at that point when I just knew I had made the right decision. And as traumatic as that was to go through for me, that, that really just kind of was, it was that key thing that made me realize, okay, I had made the right decision, because this could have gotten worse. I mean, had I continued to stay with him after that point, I have absolutely no doubt that he could have killed me one day, right? And I think a lot of women put themselves through that, getting that, when they get that remorseful, like, I'm so sorry, I didn't mean it, that wasn't me, I was high. I knew that if he didn't get help, that it would continue to progress in this way. So I'm very fortunate that I had that gut feeling, and I had those friends to support me and say, listen, we'll help you out. We love you no matter what. And I think that's why I have a lot of, empathy for other women that go through this as well, is because sometimes we just need someone to be strong for us until we can be strong for ourselves.
I was in the bedroom, my little girl was on the bed, and he was in the kitchen. And I remember saying to him, I've had enough, I can't do this anymore. And what I didn't realize at the time is, when you decide to leave, it's actually statistically the most dangerous time. So he came into the bedroom and he pinned me up against the wardrobe and started like strangling me, hitting me in my face. He had like my arms behind my back, and I turned around and I looked and I saw my little girl on the bed, and she was just like staring. She was about 2.5 at the time, just staring. And I thought, he's going to kill me in front of her, and she's going to be left without me and with him. And I thought, if he can do this to me, what can he do to her? And I thought, I have to leave. I can't put her in danger anymore. And it was really what I found is, by that point, my self-esteem and my self-worth was so low. I'd actually accepted his treatment of me. He'd said to me at one point that if I ever cheated on him, he'd cut me up into pieces and put me in the rubbish bin. And I genuinely believed and accepted that this is what he would do to me. And I was actually okay with it, because I thought, I'm not going to cheat, so that's not going to be my final destination. And you just become desensitized to the situation that you live in. But when I looked over at my daughter and I saw her sat there, I thought, you know what? I might not deserve better, but she deserves better. And I thought, I'm going to leave and I need to do this for her. It took me probably about a year to finally get the emotional strength and just kind of get everything together to finally make the push and separate from him. And obviously, and in the end, I mean, he wouldn't leave voluntarily. I had to get the police involved. And although he left, that actually wasn't the end of the story. There's more to it. But it was really that moment when I looked at my daughter and I thought, she deserves to live in a house where there isn't violence, where she's not afraid, where she's not scared, where she can eventually see and have a healthy male role model. And I thought, that's something that I can give to her. And I thought, I'm not ever going to be able to give her this experience while I stay with her dad.
When I saw those little lines on that pregnancy test that I wasn't expecting, we weren't trying at the time, and I saw that I was pregnant with her, I knew in that moment my marriage was over, because I could not, doing what I do, helping people heal their inner child, I couldn't bring my own seed, my own life, my own creation into the world knowing that my reality would be her reality. And so it was a slow process of getting out of my head and really into my heart space, and really giving myself space and permission to know that we would be okay, that we would have moments of tears and trials, but we would be okay. And it's been a long journey. The last 6 years has been a long journey. And there's moments that I wish I hadn't been a part of. And there's moments where I look down at my little girl and I just smile from ear to ear, because I know that these moments would not have happened had we stayed. And for me, that is worth everything. Every moment of heartache and trial and terror that happened from that breaking a relationship, escaping from that situation, was knowing that I could keep her safe and she would be loved and she'd be in a healthy relationship with me, with herself. And I've had to allow things to unfold, not knowing what would happen next, but knowing that she was in the best possible place, because when she's with me, there's security and love and self-esteem. And when she's not in my arms, I've taught her, and she knows her worth and her self-esteem. And we talk about situations that she has to experience when she's away from me, in that process of having two parents that are not together.
Watching my two young children, thinking, what is the example that I want to set for them? If my daughter were being treated like this, would that be okay with me? If my son were treating someone like this, would I be okay with this? Another aha moment was when I went to counseling and I was in therapy, and the person, I went to my church, and so the person that I was talking to said, "You're very good at helping women. You're called to help women. Your homework is, I want you to pretend that you came to you knowing everything that you know. And I want you to write down what you would tell yourself if you came to you." And I think the light just went off with that. Yeah. It made it so real, because I'm always that person that can help someone else. But then she told me, she said, you don't even have to bring the homework back. You don't have to read it out loud. But I want you to do that homework assignment, and I want you to read your answer. And it just made such a big difference with me, because I thought, what would you tell you? That was the biggest aha moment, those two things. Me giving advice to myself, and me not wanting the example in front of my children.
And I started going through his wallet again, because he always hid cocaine in his wallet. And I would see receipts he had hidden with the same waitress's name on it from this particular restaurant. So I knew her name, didn't know what she looked like, until I noticed that she was a new friend of his on Facebook. And this was 3 months after he proposed, and I moved back into the house. So I just kind of let it be, because that was like, okay, this is my way out. So when I went to that retreat, I came back on a Sunday, and I was carrying my bags and walking up the steps to our house. And before I got to the door, I was in the middle of the staircase, and it was like this loud voice that like vibrated in my soul. And it was a man, and it said, you need to leave, and you need to leave now. And I think it was God speaking to my spirit. And I was like, okay, I hear you. So that week, I started sleeping in my son's room when he was with his dad. And I stayed in that room for 2 months. And in that time, he stopped coming home. He would come home at like anywhere between 3 and 7 in the morning, drunk. And he would stand outside the bedroom door and start harassing me,
getting my dog upset, threatening me, screaming at me, beating on the doors, just because he knew he was losing control of me. He would try to lie his way out of stuff and say he fell asleep at his friend's house and they were playing guitar when he was out on a date with this girl. So I figured out his whole scheme because he did the same thing every single time. He just got worse at hiding it. So I just accepted it and started making my own plan to get out. And I knew that if I ever had any communication with him ever again, once I was out, that he would be able to break me down again and get me back. So I had reached a point of just exhaustion where I was like, I'm cutting off everything. And I knew it was going to be hard, but at the same time, he had proven time and time and time again what my life with him was going to look like, which was hell. So the day I got all my stuff out and left, before I left his driveway, I blocked him on all my social media, all 5 of his email addresses, everything, even WhatsApp app or WhatsApp, like any way he could possibly try to contact me.
Do I deserve such a relationship, or do I deserve better?
I was in one of the sessions and we had an argument, but at this point I was at rock bottom. Like, this smiley person that you're seeing right now, that wasn't her. I could not string a sentence together without crying. I came into the session and I just burst into tears, broke down. I was due to go back to New Zealand, and I think that's what was scaring me the most. And they recommended that I go to a group for domestic abuse. And I was like, I'm not in an abusive relationship. And they were like, you are a victim of domestic abuse. And it was that word, victim. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm not a victim. Anyway, I went along to this group, and you have like an initiation and how it goes before you get to the group. And I said to her, I was like, am I worthy of being in this group? Because I don't have a bruise anywhere on my body. And I sit in that circle, and is it right that I'm there? Because I've got nothing to show for domestic abuse. And she's like, you'll be surprised. But this group was amazing. It was so good. It was for 9 weeks, and it's just for mums that have been in domestic abuse. But each week they go through different stages of manipulation, different types of abuse. And I'll never forget this. We sat round in the circle and we introduced ourselves. And I said, my name's Jess, and I have absolutely no idea why I'm here. I couldn't believe it. And at the end of every session, I sat with the ladies that run it, and I just cried. I just cried and cried and cried, because I just couldn't believe that I hadn't seen it. I hadn't seen this coming. How did I not see that I was in, like, how he was treating me and how I was feeling? And also as well, like, my friends kept saying to me, this isn't right, this isn't right, this isn't right. And I was like, he loves me. And more than anything, I just felt stupid. I felt so stupid that, number one, I started a family with him, and number two, I actually had hope that he'd change. But that group was the first step to changing my life completely.
I really thought it would be the end of my life. I really thought I had no friends and no family and I couldn't do anything. You are stronger than you think.
Especially guys often say, oh, but you're the one who stayed. That's harsh to go and say, oh, but you stayed, so you did it to yourself.
So many times as a person who has experienced domestic violence or toxicity or personality traits, there is a level of toxic shame that's attached to that. And many times it's not talked about publicly because people are afraid to be judged and be vulnerable and carry around the shame of, how did I let my life turn out like this when I did have so much vivaciousness and energy and love for life, and now I'm a completely different person because of this relationship that I've decided to stay in. And it's not as simple as just making a plan and leaving. So many times there's brainwashing, there's gaslighting, there's self-esteem. The other person has really broken the levels of self-awareness that victims, and I hate to use the word victim, but in a point, everyone who has experienced a toxic relationship has those energetic ties to victimhood. And by releasing those and healing those and transforming them from victimhood to being victorious, there is that space in between going from I have no control to I have control of this situation and I get to choose which situation that I'm going to be in, a healthy relationship versus an unhealthy relationship, with somebody, without somebody, and learning to fall in love with yourself and give yourself permission to embody peace, joy, love, healthy, kind relationships is part of the journey towards healing your inner child and healing yourself and allowing yourself to say, that is a red flag. I can't be a part of this situation, and separating yourself from it, despite the things that are, the blackmail or the name calling, and, rising above it. It's a journey. It's not going to be an overnight thing for anyone. Even though I had a pretty good self-esteem and I had my stuff together in the public, I had it together. But behind closed doors, I lived a very different life with someone that did just enough not to have a lot of involvement with law enforcement, but towards the end really should have had a lot of involvement with law enforcement. But again, I was made to think that certain things would happen to myself and to someone that I find very precious to me. And I want to be careful with that, because a lot of times, in a sense of survival and control, people say and do things that they later didn't mean, or I was joking, or you're too sensitive. And then it's that whole mind control thing again. But there were many times, even though I had a lot of things going for me, I was essentially not able to have a healthy life because of the relationship I was in. And I was afraid and I was scared. And unfortunately, there were things that did come to be because I did end up leaving. And so it's been a journey. But red flags, anything that doesn't sit with your gut as 100% healthy is a red flag. Even being impatient because you're late for a meeting, or you change where you want to eat, or you change plans for a day. Those simple things with a healthy relationship are going to be no big deal. But to someone who is controlling or covert or has mental health needs, those are going to be triggers for that other person. So if that's not something that's happening in your life on a, with ease and flow, then that can be something very simple, very small, that can be a red flag that will turn into issues later on.
Leaving is not easy because you feel so broken by
what they do to you and what they say to you. I mean, he just made me feel old, ugly, worthless, that no one would want me, that he was the best I was ever going to get, that I could never do anything better than him. And, you know, over time, you believe it. You know, they just, with the constant voice and, you know, everything that they're saying, you just like, oh, it must be true. Healing that bit of myself was actually quite hard, you know, because you leave the relationship, but you still hear the voice in your head, right?
You have to make that decision that you are done. And that decision is like, it's an energetic declaration to the universe. It literally comes from your gut, comes from your heart. You're just like, I'm over it. I'm so done. No more. Literally. You need to have that power within you to go, no. Because whatever you say creates how you feel, and how you feel dictates what you do.
I think it's really important that people understand that their feelings matter. And if you're in an unhappy relationship, you're in the wrong relationship. It's that simple. If you're in a relationship that drains you, you can't think straight, you're walking around on eggshells, does it matter if they're a narcissist? You're unhappy. And you came here to be happy. You've come to expand. And if you're in a relationship that makes you feel constricted, if you're in a relationship with someone that makes you feel responsible for how they feel and for their failures, if you're in a relationship with someone who takes advantage of you, that's all you have to know. So many people won't leave a relationship unless they're sure he or she is a narcissist. And if you come from a childhood trauma background, it's like worse, right? Because you have all this childhood stuff on top of a narcissistically abusive relationship. So of course we're looking for that validation. Oh, he or she's a narcissist. That's why I feel this way, and now I can get out. But I think that we really, hopefully, we're moving towards a space in life where I don't need a diagnosis. What I need to know is whether or not I'm happy. And I have a right to end a relationship with anyone that I feel is draining me, whether they're a narcissist or not. I have a right to start a relationship and be in a relationship with someone and 6 months later say, I'm sorry, but this doesn't fit. And I tried and it's just not working. So I would really like for people to start tapping into how they really feel so they can live their authentic life, so they can talk about how they really feel, manifest relationships that mirror their authenticity. We all are enough. At our core, we're enough. We've been convinced that we're not enough. And no one on this planet should tolerate being abused by another human being. That is just absolutely unacceptable. So if you're not happy, that's the first clue that you're not in the right relationship for you.
I'm going to say yes to myself. I'm going to trust myself. I'm going to respect my boundaries. I'm going to celebrate myself.
It is your life. Your life is a choose your own adventure. Your life is a story that you get to write. You are the author of your own story. So do not sit there and play the role of the victim, be like, everything happens to me. No, 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 no. You get to consciously choose and consciously create. And that is when you actually get to literally take back your power, because you're like, I am choosing this, or I am tolerating this. So if you are stuck in that position right now, then recognize and realize that you have a choice.
What is your superpower?
My strength, and knowing that I can think it, believe it, and achieve it. My ability to share my experiences.
Unconditional love.
Vulnerability, honesty, love.
I'm always willing to help people.
My heart.
I can love the people who have hurt me.
I can sense people.
Es resiliencia.
Being able to speak.
I'm a very, very fast learner.
The ability to relate to all different kinds of people.
I still always see the best part of every person.
Bringing people together.
I can find anything, anywhere.
I'm very supportive.
Just superwoman, honey.
Intuition.
Realizing my character.
To see the good in others.
Listening. Courage.
My mother.
Mam dużo nadziei.
Authenticity.
To make friends.
Deep connection. My ability to grow.
Helping others.
Growing.
Listen to my heart.
It's creativity and innovation.
Is recombobulation. Is being me.
Seeing the world with wonderment.
Patient.
To understand at a very deep level.
Love.
Bring out the deeper parts in people.
To think logically.
Self-healing.
Motivate people from the heart.
A wszystkie kobiety, które dzisiaj słyszeliście, są dowodem na to, że ta zmiana jest warta tego, żeby ją podjąć i warta jest tego, żeby o siebie zawalczyć.
This was an experience that actually helped us learn how to love ourselves better. Everything isn't happening to you, everything's happening for you. We don't have to get trapped in the past story. Instead of believing that we're broken and wounded and nobody will ever love me, we need to shift that perspective and say, no, I'm a warrior. I survived the unthinkable. And now I am stronger and better. I have gone through it and I've come out even better than before.
Someone else out there is living our life. Someone else out there is living the life that all of these survivors and thrivers have escaped right here, right now. You can pick up any newspaper. You can go online to any news outlet and you'll hear about mostly women, some men, but mostly women who are killed by their boyfriends, who are killed by the children of their father. You hear it all the time. And so there's someone out there right now that is living your survivor story. And when you start speaking, you give that person hope. So suddenly, with the hope, they start to have this idea of choice. And that is really possible. That's where you can really help someone create great impact in that person's life, and if they stay on the path, they can then in turn create great impact in their life. They can end generations of trauma. They can end generations of codependency, generations of women and men picking the wrong partners and staying and not understanding what's going on. And I think that is so encouraging, and that's why you do what you do, because you want to encourage people to awaken and to take ownership over their life in a powerful way and to tell their story.
You just don't know what people have gone through in this life to live, to stay alive, to breathe, to not cry, to hide their laughter because someone else doesn't want them to laugh. Someone says, oh, well, blah, blah, blah has happened to me. Immediately take a breath and say, what if that were me? How could I handle that?
Your reality can change. Who you are can evolve. You need to focus on love to access the reality of who you are. You need to embrace love in your life.
But that's what we're missing in this universe. It's love. And that is the antidote to hate, crime, pain, depression, anxiety, and hurting each other.
Thank you so much for watching. And if you enjoyed this video, join us in the next one, where we are going to discuss the healing process. And this time, we have all the participants, 88 individuals, sharing what helped them the most to heal and thrive after leaving abusive relationship. See you soon. Bye. If this episode resonates with you, please go to exposenetwork.com. You will find the link below, and we would love to learn more about you and your story. Could you do me a favor and share this episode with at least 2 of your friends who might be going through some difficult, challenging relationships? Remember, together we can make a difference. Thank you. You can thrive and you can be happy after an abusive relationship.
Do you have a story to share?
It's night in the city, and I'm on my way back home. Humming on my favorite ditty, swinging like Natalie Cole. But then out of the blue, who strolls down the boulevard but you? Your place is closer than mine. Why don't we go there and have some more wine? 'Cause life is for living. Let's see where the sun might lead. Let's see where the sun might lead. Waking up to a brand new day in between your sheets. Breaking up in the best of ways, and I'm back again on the street. Ooh, but then out of the blue, a wind starts blowing in ways so new. A world more exciting than mine is holding up a great big welcoming sign. Life is for living. Let's see where the sun might lead.
I also wanted to welcome Marisa and Christine join. Thank you so much for joining. And I can see Paulette. And you are muted, but I know you probably know that.
Chatting away to the mute button. Wow. Another wow. Interesting, the conversation that we had before, it was repeated a few times in the actual film, the documentary.
Yes.
So it was without knowledge, but it actually played extremely well from the conversation into the communication into the video. I thought that was excellent. And I think one of the young ladies, I think might be a Kristen, when she was talking about the baby and everything. And it's we already had said about the blame game, and it's never about the blame game, but it's about working out a plan. And I think that anybody who watches this is going to realize it's not something you can just go, well, I think Tuesday's a good day, I'll leave Tuesday. You know, it's so thought out. It's so, unless of course you're being like, you know, throttled or physically hurt so badly that you have to make the decision that day. If you can have the time to get your ducks in a row, as it were, it makes sense, and it gives you that breathing space to do that, if you're not being hurt to the stage where you don't have the time, obviously. But I thought Kristen, amazing. I am in awe of everybody that you've interviewed, every single person. because the shame is the word that some people use. And I hate that word. That's like one of the words I'd like to remove from the dictionary, because I don't think it's ever placed in the right position. The shame doesn't sit with us. The shame sits with someone else. And if you want to use the word shame, I use blame, and the blame sits with them, not with us. So something I really, really enjoyed hearing people say that they were initially ashamed, and then they came to a point where they realized. So some amazing shares, and I want to again say amazing. Thank you.
Definitely, you are all very intuitive, and that's why it's the panel discussion at the beginning around how our children become the red flag, and they ask the parent to leave, and it gets to the point where leaving becomes possible because you want the better life for somebody else more than the years of self-abandonment makes it actually so impossible to just live for yourself, even though you don't want it, and it's something you feel stuck in that one moment. But so thank you so much for your share. I also am aware of the time and that we are above the time, but I like to hold the space for Marisa or Kristen. If you would like to open your mic, you don't have to be necessary on the camera. There is no need, but I just like to ask if there's anything you would like to share, what came up for you when it comes to leaving.
Hey, it's Kristen. It was a lovely viewing. I'm so glad that our voices were heard and you put this project together for each of us. I was watching myself speak and I thought to myself, wow, I'm even so much more a healed and whole flowing soulful person now than I was even when I did that interview with you. And I just I did a mini celebration for myself because I had come so far even from that version of me who shaking in my boots shared my story with you going on 2 years ago now. So living life and flowing and healing and helping other people do that is a mission, and I'm so grateful that I can be a part of the movement that you've started, Anastasia, and I'm blessed and honored to be a part of this experience. Thank you.
I love how you celebrate yourself. I love that, and please more of it, because it's like yeah, we barely get to see ourselves from the past. As long as you are not somebody who likes to think about you, back 2 years ago, because there is some Facebook memory and you're like, oh my God.
Yeah. It was a good, wholesome reminder of how far I have come in my journey to help others, but also help myself and help the next generation. At that point, I was afraid to say these things happened against my will and my daughter's will. And I referenced someone close to me, but I was talking about my daughter in that interview. And now I am brave enough to say, this happened to me, this happened to my daughter because of our abuser. And I wasn't willing or able to say those words even 2 years ago in that interview. And that's what made me think now I would call it out for what it is. Even though I had come through the journey so far, I've come so much more since then. Thank you.
And it's amazing to see celebrating yourself, because it's one thing when people celebrate you, another thing is when you get to the place where you are like
Yeah, I can do it now myself. I'm fine with celebrating.
Yeah, I
Uh,
agree.
mm. And it's a great place to enjoy, and I feel that's why we do all the work we are doing, so we can actually be and experience those positive, or just, the opposite of what it was before. And there is so much more to come, and it gets better and better. And it's for your life, for the life of your children, and and generations. So that's the path. One day your daughter talking about you. Anyway, I just have a movie like she's talking about my great great grandma, Kristen
Yes.
Ford. Sorry, my brain,
How she
I'm
overcame
creative.
adversities of life.
Yeah. It brought my smile on my face. But I saw you, Marisa, you were raising your hand, and I also saw you are busy with children. So I'm just checking.
Yes, I just now picked up the kids, so we're on our way home.
Mhm.
I pulled over for a second, but you know, with the documentary film, it really touches my heart because, it helps me release and it helps me heal. So each time I talk about it, I release. Each time I learn something, I realize things. And it can be triggering, but then it brings back those memories, like, yeah, what, that's what I went through. And you know when before, it used to be really hard to listen, it used to be really hard to hear, but now it's a realization, and it's the healing part that really helps me. And I've been sharing my story for over 16 and a half years. I've been trying to help people for the past 10 years, 15 15 years, as much as possible, opening my home and trying to, because I don't want people to go through what I went through. Not even my worst enemy. I don't want to see anybody. I've already lost family members to it. I've seen my own family going through it. And it's not, we just got to really realize that it's not normal and that we shouldn't keep it silent. It's a real big stigma. Last week I went to a reservation where I spoke and I shared my story because a lot of people in that little community didn't want to talk about it. They didn't want to talk about it. They didn't want to share their story because of fear. And I just really hope that, for me sharing my story, coming in from another reservation, sharing my story, that I opened a door for them, that, we got to break the silence about domestic violence, and we got to teach our children, because our our children aren't surviving. you know I don't want anybody to have to bury their daughters or their sons that have to go through this. And it's really heartbreaking because, the law on the reservation is not as strong as it is in the States. We have a high number of missing and murdered, and a lot of it is dealing with abusive partners, and those abusive partners, they get away with it and there's just no justice. And so we're trying to break that. And for me, I did another session yesterday. I was out doing the resources, and Anna, thank you so much for the QR code. I was sharing it with them. I was telling them, take a picture of it, watch it, you know, um, anything I can to get this documentary out is what I use it for. It's a powerful tool to use. And I told my community, I said, you know what, now that we have this in our hand, let's get the whole reservation together and talk about it, because it's a voice. We're all one voice together. And, it's not just only on the reservation, it's worldwide. And, and I'm just really thankful that you were brave and you didn't give up asking. You kept asking, looking for people to share your story. And I'm so glad that, 88 of us came together and we opened up about our story. And with the stories that we tell, you know, they're all similar, but I'm really hoping that whoever hears our story realizes maybe they come across one of the red flags, like, oh, you know what, I'm going through that. You know, just like somebody said, domestic violence is not only physical. I thought domestic violence was only physical as well. But when I started going through counseling, that's when I really realized, you know, it's so many other things. It's not just the one thing. So it was really educational to me. And that's what I try to bring to others too, to realize it. So I won't be quiet about it. I am not going to shut down about domestic violence. I don't care. You know, I have my power back. I'm able to face my ex-partner. I'm able to communicate with him. He doesn't like what I do, but you know what? It's the message. You know, I show him that I'm not afraid of him, and I will not give him that power. So, it's like I said, it's really healing. It's really healing. And the only reason why I communicate with my ex-partner is because of my son, you know. And my son lives in a different state, so I'm closer to his dad. So it's just one of those things that we have to deal with. And you know, I'm really thankful for my ex-sister-in-laws, my ex-mother-in-law. You know, right now he's doing the abuse on his own mom. And you know, my sister-in-laws, they're asking me for help because we're trying to protect his mom. And you know, it's sad. It's really sad. But just, you know, thank you all for your voice. Thank you all for being brave. Um, Continue to share. Don't stop. Continue to share and come here and just heal. So, and I enjoy it. I try not to miss an episode, you know, but I know next week I'm going to be out, and you know, from the 23rd, from the 23rd through the 31st, I'm going to be really busy. Part of it's going to be part of my business, and the other part is going to be finishing out Domestic Violence Awareness Month. So, I'm October is probably one of my favorite months because I get to heal more. I get my heart heals because I'm sharing more. So thank you.
Thank you, Marisa, for being. Oh, now I can see you. Hey, there. Oh, you know, it's like amazing. So many superheroes around us, and then you get to meet them, and you're like, oh wow. I hope they can see themselves the way I see them. So thank you
I
for.
feel like you need to get pants with the big S on the outside, and all the ladies get to wear them, and all the gentlemen on the outside of their trousers. Because you're all superheroes.
Yeah,
We
something to
really are.
remind them. Yeah. And what did you say? Wear what? I didn't hear the first word.
So Superman and all the
Oh,
superheroes, you know, like with the big
yeah.
S
Yeah,
on the
the S.
pants on the outside of their trousers. Yeah.
That's an awesome idea. Just sometimes we need we all need the reminder, but thank you all for watching us live and being on the Zoom. Thank you those who joined at the very beginning and shared. Thank you, Asta, and everyone who was watching online. We would like to also thank you for your presence. And our hope is that it all was for good, for just realizing that yes, the stories are similar. And there is one thing I would like to conclude that before Pauletta has to go to sleep because it's like 3 a.m. there. But so Trisha said this. She had this moment. She had this moment like you have to go and you have to go now. So I would like to finish this episode 4, Unbroken, exposing what does it take to live an abusive cycle, is with this question. I want to leave you with this question. What do you do when this voice comes in your life that silent voice of your intuition, what do you do? I didn't see that, Paulette. I didn't see that. You have to do it again. Yeah. Because yeah, I think that's the what I got from it, because we really know more than we think we know. We know so much.
The inner voice knows always.
Yeah. So good night, good evening, good afternoon. Thank you. Do zobaczenia. See you on the 31st, and we are going to be talking about healing. We're going into the healing process, which is I always am like, yeah, finally, I don't want more the dark spots, but we have to go through it. I feel like to just even have that reflection. I was there, I transform, I want to celebrate. I think maybe that's why we also want to look into those dark grief moments, because we get to reflect, see how we change, and it feels uncomfortable. Maybe there is a shame, but feeling it all, just having that space. And yay, thank you all. Mwah.